Congos. Welcome back to the channel. And first and foremost, I want to thank everybody for 200 subscribers. We reached a new milestone and it means so much to me, so thank you for subscribing. Second of all, as you can see, this is a completely different vibe for the intro, and that's because today I'll be reviewing the Sony Hi8. This is the camera that I purchased as a kid. I thought it was time for a proper review because I really wanted to get that Hi8 look. As we go through my review, I hope that you keep one word in mind, and that is the word Firewire. You'll find out why at the end of the video, but for right now, let's switch over to a more modern look. We're gonna start off with the good, then go back to the bad. I think that's all there is to say about this camera, as it doesn't have too many features. Shout out to Danny Gavitz for the tip on the lighting. That's why I'm actually on the floor, so the lighting looks a lot better. Why did I decide that I wanted to purchase this camera? I decided to get this because it was the camera that I bought as a kid. The coolest thing that I noticed about the camera was the exterior, right? The way that this is built and designed. It's a very plasticky body. The grip, the way you handle it, wraps your hand really nice around the camera body. Just really well suited for anybody, really, especially if you have medium-sized hands. What I love the most about old cameras, though, is the way that they're attempting to get people to handle the camera in a certain way, you know? All our phones these days are in this kind of square design, and it's okay, it's the best design, but it gets a little dull sometimes. But with past cameras, there were just so many attempts at getting the right form factor for the grip. Really interesting to see the constant testing and research and development that goes into it. All the buttons to me are just like so cool, you know, like what you press is what you get. There's no software updates. There's no need to load new drivers. The flippy screen felt a little bit ahead of its time. And although it's like 480p recording and the screen's probably like 122p or some random number, to know that this would have been a great vlogging camera back in the day before the era of vlogging, it's just really amazing to see what they were experimenting with. The dynamic range, you kind of have to talk about it, and the film aesthetic. Dynamic range is probably non-existent. I really don't care about that. I enjoy the way that the colors come out and the way that the sky is blown out because it's trying to compare to the highlights and the shadows. Then you add those like random flares and random aberrations. The way that the film tries to push itself, or you're trying to overexpose so you can get a face to look decent in the shot, but it still feels very warm and tony. And anytime I see a video shot in Hi8, it just reminds me of this California skate park, Malibu sort of vibe. I always get it, even if you probably from like Kentucky or something. The film is really small and it gives you about an hour and 30 minutes because of the limited amount of film that you get. You also have to think a little bit more about your shot. In the past, there was little access to video editing software, so a lot of the camera companies were trying to put in, you know, as many transitions and gimmicky, you know, video styles onto the camera. I just kept on laughing because I know I put some of these effects in the videos that I shot. Looking at them now, it's a little bit corny. It reminds you a little bit about classic Instagram. Just like they were trying to make the best consumer camera possible. The most enjoyable part of the camera for some odd reason was the sounds that it made. It's old, and at the moment there might have not been any engineerical way, is engineerical a word, to get the camera to be as silent as possible. I just love when it boots up, when you hit the record button, it makes another noise. When you flip the screen, you can clearly hear it creaking. You start the film and it's just such a beautiful noise. It's like ASMR for filmmakers. They're really just gorgeous sounds that I kind of miss now when I boot up this camera, or when I take something with my phone. There's no noise that comes with it. That's a feature of the camera that I didn't expect myself to enjoy, but I've come around to love it. about the small, minute details that you might not even think about, because I didn't think about them when I purchased the camera. Now the camera, I purchased it for about $100 on eBay. It came with all the cables. If you're not looking for this specific camera in general, I'd suggest you look around for the manual somewhere online, because I don't think there were too many unboxing videos back in the day. We clearly had to discuss the price of the film, and the film that I'm using is the Fuji Hi8, because that's all we shoot here is Fuji. To get that look, you know, kind of fluctuates all over the place. It's not very expensive, but it's also not dirt cheap. It's kind of in the mid-range of everything. The easiest thing to probably find for the hardware is the battery. I'm pretty sure there's still many manufacturers out there that are making not the exact same looking battery, but a battery that will plug in so you get a lot more juice out of it. Then you can start transferring your footage over. Transferring over your footage to digital is very important. If you didn't know, film loses its quality over time. What I would recommend is once you're done with a cartridge, you directly upload it onto your computer and save it somewhere so that it's easy to find later on. It took me about a week and a half to actually find a system that worked. Here's what didn't work. I bought a Roxio cable, which was about 50 bucks. There's also an Elgato capture card too, which is very expensive and really hard to find. There's other systems that are over $100, but I didn't want to pay for that. The Roxio system did not work. It only captured audio for some reason. My computer was detecting it. However, as I looked through other videos, some of them using the exact same camera that I was using, they did not run into that issue. It seems a little strange to me. As I was searching around, looking around, here comes that word, Firewire. I had to go and buy a Firewire cable, then get a Firewire, the Thunderbolt dongle, and then another dongle that goes from Thunderbolt to USB-C. It was about $70, and although this is a one-time purchase, that's very expensive. So in order to transfer over, get the cassettes, and get the camera, you're looking at about a $200 starting point, which isn't too bad, but it's just something to consider when you're about to go into the system. And this is only for around, you know, probably like 1997 to like 2006 cameras. If someone were to come to me and say, hey, I want to get into the Hi8 system, or look for a camera system that gives me that vintage look, super 8mm even, I'd say consider the small costs that add up over time. Because if I wanted a Super 8 film camera, there is no digital ports, there is no Firewire. I kind of got lucky that this camera even had Firewire, but then you have to send it out to, you know, a lab that's going to transfer it over, make it digital. I hear that's very expensive to do that for one cartridge, so I'm very happy with the looks that it gives me. That's all I really have to say. Am I going to be using this all the time? No, because I don't know. It's just for fun for me. There's no need to integrate it anywhere into the channel because we only like crispy things on the Isaac Mihongo's YouTube channel. What are your thoughts on it? Did the algorithm just recommend this to you because you're looking through Hi8 stuff? Or do you plan on getting one of these cameras to bring back the nostalgia of your childhood? At the end of the day, I thank you so much for your time and your attention. My name is Isaac Mihongos, and I'll catch you in the next one.